Hey, Kyler here. Our aim for this show is to leverage every opportunity that life throws at us. I hope you find value in today's show.
Welcome back, Leveraged Life Show, where we are trying to leverage every single opportunity life throws at you. And we are throwing at you a new series over the next 5 weeks, all about the families who have done it well. And what do I mean by that? I mean a stewarded legacy. Yes, they had lots of money, but it wasn't how much that stewarded the legacy and passed on the wealth. It was how they went about it. These families are values driven. These families are faith first. These families did not compromise any convictions when the going gets tough, or when it would be much easier. For our example today with Truett Cathy, the Cathy family at Chick-fil-A, and what they have built, it would have been so much easier to stay open on Sundays, one extra day a week, to make extra income. But they've stayed true to that conviction to stay closed on Sunday, and they are still the front runners in weekly revenue across the fast food industry. I think that's just a testament of maybe their unwavering convictions and what it looks like to stand firm on your values, what you believe to be true, and trusting that it is ultimately for the best. Of course, in their case, it was faith driven and they trusted that the Lord was in control, but maybe it's just you have strong morals, strong convictions, and believe that you want to take care of people first. And that is what's ultimately going to yield to the dollars. People first over programs, people first over products, people first over revenue every single time. The values that really cost us something are the ones our children and our heirs are actually going to remember. So that's why we're going to dive into this series today, and we're going to go all in on the Chick-fil-A story, Truett Cathy, and how they've built that empire.
I love that we're starting with Chick-fil-A because let's be real, it's the Lord's chicken, and
Amen.
I we go to Chick-fil-A several times a week. I see the Chick-fil-A come across the bank statement way too many times from my wife going to Chick-fil-A. Cord, I'm sure you know that with your wife, but no, I think the Cathy family. I feel like for what we're going to talk about in this episode, it's something that doesn't get talked about enough in the generational wealth transfer conversation. Look, the legal structures, the trusts, the holding companies, all of the different things, that's obviously very important in business. You have to have that stuff for
Mhm.
things to run. But for generational wealth transfer, when we're looking at just the role of character and having basically institutional values that are just embedded within a company, that's different. That's
Mhm.
something that just completely separates something from being a company that someone started, maybe generation one, then it gets past to generation two, but they didn't have anything like, hardcore culture down. And so the transfer, it happens, but maybe the values change over time. It drifts compared to maybe where it first started. But for the Cathy family and Chick-fil-A, building institutional values within the culture and embedding that through everything they do, that's how everything was built. And in a lot of ways, I mean, I think that we can kind of agree that that's partly why it's been so successful. Like, they just have a strong culture. When you say thank you to somebody, what does somebody at Chick-fil-A say back that works there?
My
My
pleasure.
pleasure, right? Everyone's on the same page of how
Yeah.
things work. And so you have to really just take a step back and look at, hey, what have they built here, the culture? We need to study this and see
Mhm.
how does this actually impact growing business, but then just generational wealth transfer, because I believe they're on the third generation Cord, with Truett and then Dan, and now I know he's not necessarily the CEO, but then
Mhm.
I think that his son is now the head man in charge and stuff. So but anyways, that's just what we're talking about today. And Court, I really want to just to start the conversation, just kind of refresh everybody on just the history of Chick-fil-A in some ways of just how it started. So obviously Truett Cathy, started Chick-fil-A, basically opened up what we called the Dwarf Grill in Hateville, Georgia in 1946. I think he was 25 years old and
Mhm.
really just didn't have a lot of money to start it, right? Just didn't have a lot of capital, but had a lot of faith, a lot of drive, a lot of the things that first generation founders have to make things work. So the first Chick-fil-A, the original Chick-fil-A sandwich was developed in the 1960s. And from the beginning of when they started opening restaurants, they were always closed on Sunday.
Mhm.
Obviously, that's still what happens today. That's never been a debate on if they were going to ever be open on Sunday.
That's
And
right.
so they do things on a 6 day, work week business schedule. And, whether, you agree with that or not, whether it might have expedited things if they were open on the extra day or not,
Mhm.
who knows, right? But regardless, the company, it was built over time, it was built slowly, and they weren't chasing just for dollars because, I mean, a lot of people are just chasing dollars, then of course it would make sense to be open on Sunday as well. But it was really just founded on faith, right values,
Mhm.
the character that him and his wife had, and realistically too, they him and his wife, Jeanette, they opened a foundation called the Wind Shape Foundation.
Mhm.
And the WindShape Foundation was really meant to help fund college scholarship, foster care for children, just investing in other young lives. They did marriage retreats, and they still do all that stuff to today.
Mhm.
And so that was really kind of the goal. And from what we've read, is that's really what the business was believed to be for, is to help and just give back to the community. And I think that they have done that, tenfold, of course. But anyways, kind of moving to more today's age, Truett passed in, I think it was 2014, at the age of
Mhm.
93. We talked about Dan, eventually leading the company, and now his son is leading the company. So we talk about just the generational wealth and just leadership
Mhm.
transfer throughout the years. And today, now, I mean, Chick-fil-A is a household name. They've got like over 3,000 locations. They're doing like 21 billion in annual sales, and they're all doing it over 6 days a week. They're not open on Sunday. So
Yes.
I think, you go to Chick-fil-A, you know what you're gonna get. You know what the food's
Yeah.
like. Obviously, you know what kind of service that you're gonna get. And it's very, very clear the kind of culture that they have developed, just
Mhm.
over the years, and how that has just been passed on between generations.
Yeah. It's a standard of excellence, even when you go through the drive-through, you're not gonna be sitting there for 20, 30 minutes like you would at some other fast food restaurant when they're, not even prepared or understaffed all the time. Like, I've not been to a Chick-fil-A where they're understaffed and the people aren't actually happy and joyful to be working there. That is mind-blowing to me because it's still fast food, but it's a stewardship culture that's been created in the whole process. And that's why I think it's so important for us to dive into that element of stewardship and shaping a culture, especially from that first generation when Truett Cathy was in charge and building it from the ground up because we do business with so many founders. And you know the life of a founder if you've been in it. You have those moments where you're just unsure if things are going to work. Your knees are weak, your palms are sweaty, there's vomit on your sweater already, maybe mom's spaghetti. I don't know. Some philosopher
Stop.
Eminem said that at one point. Um, but you know that pressure, the grind, the feeling that if I don't perform, we're not going to have money for another month. And you feel that like deep in your bones as a founder. But when you desperately believe in something, you keep showing up and you don't want to compromise. But so many days along the way, and so many sales calls, and so many conversations that might come up where you might be tempted just to be a hammer on the nail and just force results and force interactions and solve problems that don't exist just to get quick cash. All founders know what that feels like. It's like, maybe I could just take a shortcut or find the easy road out, but the shortcuts really don't exist. And if you try to take the shortcut or the easy way out, your business is not going to last. We all know exactly what that feels like. But what Truett Cathy models for us, and the reason we so much so wanted to talk about him and what Chick-fil-A built, is he didn't compromise. Yeah, I'm sure they were operating in the red at some points in times. I don't know that to be a fact, but when you're a restaurant, especially starting out, high fail rates. A lot of business restaurants operate in the red when they first get kicked off. So yeah, it could have been easy to open up on a Sunday. or compromise convictions and just get lower paid staff in there. I could imagine all of those thoughts went through his head because all of those thoughts have gone through all of our heads as founders. But are you willing to not compromise? Stewardship is not just about what you do with the revenue that comes in, it's about what you refuse not to do with it. And that is so crucial for the founders that we work with. Stewarding legacies, excellent stewardship, charitable giving. It's all about honoring the Lord, maintaining that company culture and culture you actually want to create, not just that weird, whatever culture lingo these big corporate, 500 Fortune 500 companies use. It's all about the synergy and the, excellent culture, and it's different here in the office with our pizza parties and whatnot. Everybody makes fun of those things. It's hilarious to me. Love the posts about it. No, there are real founders out there who care about their people and would bend their back to make sure someone got paid at the end of the day. And that unwavering commitment to excellence is what is going to yield the real results and success over the long haul that actually passes businesses to the second and third generations like what the Cathys have built. And it's pretty stinking special.
Yeah, that's great. Stewarding legacies. I mean, we say that all the time to the people we work with. It means something different to different people. But at the end of the day, I feel, Cord, that the people that understand that, whatever that means to them, it's going to mean something unique, and how that plays out in their lifetime is going to look different than somebody else.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's so impactful for the people they're working with. And stewarding legacies is, like I said, something that we just continually talk about. It's kind of our mantra, if you will. And I think, when you're looking at Chick-fil-A, this is a business that people study. There are businesses that people study. There are
Yeah.
people that are like institutional figures of history that people study. And it's like, why did you do the things that you did? There are people like that. And there are people that build companies that shape cultures. And Chick-fil-A is one of those.
Mhm.
Like I said, it is a household name. It is woven into their identity of everything that they do. And I feel, and like I said, this is maybe not a fact because I don't know this for sure, but I feel like reversing that, if they actually were open on Sunday, that would actually be more harmful to their brand, and it would actually do worse compared to actually being open on Sundays. And that's just a personal opinion, but I think that's rooted in just they've built such a strong culture and the trust of just how they do things that it is what it is. And I mean, there's songs written about it, right? I mean, what is it? Oh my goodness, I just went
You're
blank.
thinking of the Tim Hawkins song? Is that what
There's
you're thinking of?
Tim Hawkins, or, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is just drawing a blank on me. Snoop Dogg is in the song. Holy cow. Cord, what is the song? It's,
You're not thinking of Kanye West's song,
no,
are you?
no, no. Oh my goodness.
Because that he had his, Chick-fil-A song there. Ben Rector has a
Ben
song
Rector.
about
Yes,
Sunday,
sorry. I
and
was
Snoop
just
Dogg is in it.
drawing a blank on Ben Rector's name. Goodness gracious. Yes. Ben Rector. Anyways, he talks about them not being open on Sunday. But anyways, I say to say it's like it's such a part of our culture that people just know they're not open on Sundays. And so institutionalizing those values on just what's important and making sure that they're honoring the Sabbath and it's faith driven. I mean, it just is what it is. It's part of their culture and their brand. Like I said, I think if they actually reversed it, I think it would actually
Mhm.
do more damage. But that's, like I said, that's just my opinion. I don't know if there'd be any facts on that, obviously, but I feel like, one of the big things when you study them too, or really just any families that we're going to talk about when we're looking at generational wealth transfer, or character transfer, culture transfer.
Yeah.
What's interesting to look at this is the next generation doesn't have to rediscover what's already been built.
Hmm.
That's a big thing because G1 founders, they do the thing. They learn how to make money, they do make great businesses. But
Mhm.
it's hard to go from G1 to G2. How hard is it to go from G2 to G3 and maintain that culture across multi generations? That's very rare to do
Mhm.
unless you have institutionalized values on how you're actually built in doing things. And so the next generation doesn't have to rediscover it. They're just inheriting what their family already does. it's just part of their DNA. And I think that's what's so critical to just look at all these different families
Mhm.
and just learn from it. Because you can take that stuff from, yes, you can pull that stuff into a business standpoint, but how much more impactful I would say too is if you learn that stuff and you implement that in your own family.
Yeah.
I mean, with our family, of course, like we've talked about before, like we're really a generation or like multi-generation kind of families of entrepreneurs in some
Mhm.
ways. Like we feel like there's ways that we can provide value to our community, we can love on others, and built within our just family values and culture, the generosity, community, like faith. Generosity is probably one of the biggest ones that I always kinda keep falling back to, and just seeing how that plays out throughout generations, and it's just how we do things, and that's just how it is, and so that's our kind of our family culture, but every family has a culture, and sometimes it's hard to put your finger on if it's,
Mhm.
exactly what that is, but you can see the difference between good culture and bad culture. It's just kind of like this vibe of energy of just how you do things, and so I think you take that stuff, you learn that stuff from businesses, and you can implement that not only in your own business, but how that transfers to your own family. Man, I
Yeah.
mean, I feel very optimistic for the families, for a family's future if they're able to do that effectively. So, Cord, why don't you take the reins back over and we'll land the plan for today?
Well, here's your takeaway from the Cathy family today and the institutionalized culture that they have built with the standard of excellence at Chick-fil-A. And closing on Sunday is just an example of how they're trying to live out that conviction. So here's the takeaway. I want you to get a pen and paper out or the notes app on your phone. And I just want you to think and journal and write down what is the unwavering conviction that shows up in your business, in your life, that if even if you traded it, you might make more money, but you would rather make less money because you don't want to compromise that. Is it generosity? Like, do you want to donate a certain percentage of the profits that come in? Is it, you know, excellence, communication? Whatever that unwavering conviction, core quality is, I just want you to write it down. And in fact, if you want to take it a step further, I want you to text it to us. Whatever that one core conviction is that is unwavering to your life and your business, Kyler and I want to hear it. We want to know what it is, and then maybe you could tell us why if you wanted to. But shoot us whatever that word is to 479-396-3528. Shoot that message to 479-396-3528 because we all know that life is about leveraging every opportunity that is thrown our way. And we want to do that with unwavering convictions, an unwavering to what we have right in front of us and take advantage of all of those opportunities. So shoot us that message. We'll be on the lookout for it. And we can't wait to hear what your convictions are and maybe why those are a part of your life. Next week, we'll tackle another family that's done it really well. This was about Chick-fil-A and the Cathy story and how they have built great wealth, stewarded it well, and are continuing to pass it on. We'll see you next week on the Leverage Life Show.